I have quite literally sent hundreds of thousands of emails either for myself or for my clients, and I've learned a thing or two about how to send good cold emails. Some things that most people don't actually know, especially if you're new to the game. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 10 different things that I have learned from cold email that you could consider hacks. So if you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Ben Lister, and I help agency owners by documenting my learnings on this YouTube channel that help me to make multi-six figures per year. The first thing to know is that if you are sending an email and the person who is sending it is a girl, so there's a girl in the name, there's a girl in the photo, you are actually more likely to get a positive response. Now, the reason for this, I don't really know. I guess people want to be nicer to girls, but if you go and take an AI generated image of a girl and you put it as your profile picture and then you just change it to Melissa or whoever you want, the chance that you get a positive response is higher, which sounds crazy, I know. I think people just want to be less rude to them, but yeah, this is a hack that I've been using for a little while now. So a lot of people know that you should have multiple domains and multiple email accounts to send your cold emails, but one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you should actually have one email account that receives all of the positive responses that you get. Now, the reason for this is that if you are sending lots of cold emails on one specific account, the chance that that lands into spam is quite high. But if we have one account that we know is never going to land in spam because we're not sending cold emails and we've been warming it up properly and doing all the right things, then we know that when we get a positive response, we can use this to have a conversation with the prospect. Because the worst thing in the world would be to have a response from a prospect, someone who's pretty engaged and they have a high chance of booking a call with you, and then for some reason you can't respond to them or you can't get their attention because you are in the spam folder. Now, this is obviously something that you can avoid by creating a separate email account. And the way that we actually do this, and this is a really big tip, is you can auto forward emails. You can do this on Gmail or Outlook or whatever kind of platform you use. And so every time that you receive an email, it automatically forwards it to another email account. And now it doesn't forward it in the sense where if I forwarded you an email, for example, what would happen is it would say, forwarded by Ben. This literally just sends the email to them. It's almost as if you receive that email on your separate account. And so, I've had the prospect here that sent an email to my cold account, but it's actually gone to my warm account and he's sent it to the warm one. And so the really cool thing about this is that you cannot land in spam if someone sends you an email first. So if I sent you an email, for example, you can respond to that email so many times, I think like 20 or 30 times, and you still won't land in spam unless I have marked it as spam, right? So every couple of days you could follow up with this person just consistently all the time, like, hey, let's book a call, looking forward to the call, shall we book a call in? I know we haven't spoken in a while, but shall we book a call? Whatever it is, blah, 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 blah. And you are never going to land in the spam, which is so cool. Obviously, unless someone actually marks you as spam and they tell you to go away or to kill yourself or whatever it is that they might respond with. But what this means is that you basically get unlimited follow-ups. And so the chance of booking a call from those positive responses is much higher. And so let's say if you had 100 positive replies, you are much more likely to book, more calls. You're going to get 50, 60, 70 calls from those 100 positive replies. There is a email provider that we have used sometimes called Namecheap, and they do domains, they do emails like private email, and as it says in the name, they are very, very cheap. And this is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that if you're spending 50, 60, even sometimes like $100 a month on Google Workspace and having like all these different domains and all these different accounts, you can actually spend almost the same amount per month on a Google Workspace as you can per year on Namecheap. And if you set up the accounts properly and you do all the right things, there is no reason why you should land in the spam. Now, there is a couple of spam filters and stuff like that that can be tricky sometimes, but if you're on a budget, then there is literally no reason why you can, not use Namecheap. It basically is, it gives you the same results as you would through Google Workspace, but it's, much cheaper. And there's actually a myth in cold email that you can't send links for some reason. And so I don't know where this comes from, but people say that you can't send links in an email. If you send links, you're going to get put into spam. I can tell you now, we send links in almost every single one of our emails. And we're not talking about Calendly links. We're not talking about, hey, book a call, here it is. We're talking about links to some kind of personalization, right? And we never, ever, ever land in spam. Our open rates are through the roof. And this is a big myth. We've had accounts that have been running for 3, 4, 5 months, and they still have not been put into spam. And we send links on them, every single day virtually. So it's a bit of a myth. You can include things, you can include images and videos and stuff like that, and it still works fine and you won't be put into the spam. Next hack is about email copy. So If you say, for example, we can do this for you, we can get you this many leads, this many appointments, you want to change the language there. If you say, for example, we promise to get you this, we are confident we can get you this, that is so much less powerful than if you just say to someone, hey John, I like the look of your kitchen remodeling company. We've actually got this amount of leads in this area, obviously the area that they work in ready to go, or we've got this many leads. Would you be interested in exploring this? And because of the way that the conversation is framed, you can basically tell the person that you have these leads ready to go, right? And obviously when they come onto the call with you, you can explain like, yeah, we do. We know how the system, how it works. We can get you this many leads. And if we don't, then you get your money back, right? And that's obviously the offer. But this is such a better way to word things, because obviously you're not promising this. You're saying, we have these leads, they're ready to go. Would you like them? And people are much more likely to say yes to that rather than, would you like to work with me and we'll see if we can get these leads together, right? And so it's a slight change in language. It's the same exact service, but you're much more likely to get someone on the phone so you can have the chance to sell to them. Now, everyone knows that you should put a location in your email signature, and this actually helps with deliverability because it means that you are tied to a place. It's hard to actually have a location. You're tied to one specific spot, and for some reason Google and all the email providers seem to like having a location there. But there's one hack that we use where instead of just picking a random location and hoping it's not someone's house and they get mad and they don't see this, or some letter gets sent there, you can actually search for virtual offices in any major city in the world, and there's many different ones out there, and you don't actually have to pay for these. Obviously, if you want to use their their services where they send mail to that office and you can receive that mail, you can just use that address. And what starts to happen at this point is people will obviously search that address up. They'll see that it's a virtual address and that you pay $10 a year or whatever it is to actually get this address and to use it as your business premises, and they'll say, oh, they just used that service then. And so it's very, very unlikely, because a lot of businesses use this address, each one will have hundreds if not thousands of businesses using that address. It's very unlikely that you're going to get caught by this, or someone's going to say something, or it's going to be obvious that you haven't actually paid for this. So it's just a good way of using a location without having to go through the hassle of buying this and pay for this and have mail sent there and stuff like that. When it comes to creating domains, there's a lot of different cold emails that I've received in the past where the domains just make no sense. There's like numbers in there, there's codes in there, there's maybe like an extra letter in there, so the word's now spelt wrong and stuff like that. And it's crazy, right? I don't understand why this works. I think you can actually get flagged by spam for having stuff like that, but when you are having a domain, let's say your domain is Google, right? You can change your domain to the Google, the hyphen Google, the Google team, we are Google, Google HQ, Google marketing agency. There's so many different ways that you can do this, right? And basically you can just add any sort of, words in there that would be a slogan or a phrase, or trygooglettoday.com, right? This could be easily a domain that you could use. Every single time that you do this, when you basically have these unlimited domains now, what you want to do is reroute that domain, the one that you just created, to the original domain that you have, to your website. And so when someone searches for this, which they always will do, this happens pretty much every time that we send out cold emails, someone will land on the website and they can actually see some information about what you guys do. Whereas if you don't do that and they search for trygooglettoday.com, then they're going to land on this domain that's maybe is like blank, or maybe it says it has like the provider's name that you've just brought off. Like if you brought off Squarespace, for example, it'll say this is a Squarespace domain, and it looks pretty unprofessional and it looks like you're not very serious. So if you just reroute it to the email, it doesn't look like it's too dodgy then. And a big myth that I see is that email sending software lands you into spam. Now, I don't know where this come from, and it does make sense, if you have different softwares that they're basically Google flags and it says this has been sent by a specific software and it knows that and it can see that, then maybe it's going to mark you as spam, because obviously that means you're sending at a higher volume because you wouldn't schedule emails and stuff like that. But for some reason, there is many softwares out there that do not land you into spam, and I've done so many tests where we have manually sent emails and we've had a virtual assistant go through this, and it's a pretty tedious process. It can cost a lot of money in the end, and we have email sending softwares actually where we don't need to do that, and the open rate is exactly the same. There's no real difference. It's nothing that we ever noticed that's like we've landed in the spam or we're not getting any responses because we're sending via a cold email software. And so there is quite a few ones that don't actually land you into the spam folder, and you can do quite consistently. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ones out there. Instantly is very, very popular and it does work pretty well, but there is so many different ones. There's ones like mails.ai, there is smartly.ai, and I think there's one that's called like Mistricker or something that a lot of people use that must have quite a lot of success with, but I haven't used those specifically, so I can't obviously give a recommendation. But there is many cold email softwares out there that mean you don't have to manually send emails. And lastly, people think that the subject line is one of the most important things, and they love to like test subject lines and stuff like that. But the way that you test a subject line is not by tracking the open rate, because the open rate, the main metric for that you are tracking is deliverability. So if you have good deliverability, your open rate will be good. And basically the subject line doesn't really matter all that much when it comes to actually, if you're landing in the inbox, people will open your email. But the one way to test actually is working is to A/B test it. And so, for example, you might have an email subject that says, hey, John, have you seen this? And then you might have another one that says, hey, John, looking good here or something, right? Maybe they're terrible subject lines, and you would A/B test it, right? So you would have one that does, 1,000 emails here, 1,000 emails there. Which one gets the best open rate? Same email accounts, same setup, same everything, same, copywriting, all that kind of stuff. Just the subject line is the difference. That's the only thing that we change. And if you notice a difference there, then obviously you can pick a certain subject line, and that's obviously how we get a better subject line. We don't just base it purely off the open rate because, there's multiple variables that come into that. And so obviously if you want to test this out, the more volume and the more data that you have, the more accurate those subject lines are going to be. By the way, if you are looking to sign clients for your agency, click the first link in the description. We're not asking for anyone's email or phone number. We're not going to send you some crazy, super long emails. It's literally just a video explaining what my company does and how we do this. So yeah, click the like button if you like this video, comment if you want me to cover anything specifically, and subscribe if you are new here. Appreciate you watching this one to the end. Cheers.